Welcome back, everyone, to the Smite 2 Founders Series Knockout LAN. My name is Gormizer. Over there is Lermy. We are moving into our second set of the day. We've got Borscht on one side. They're, what did Jake say the other day? Ferocious Kittens, I think, is the another name. Might not have been Ferocious. It might have been something else.
Interesting.
Something like
Interesting
that.
Selection of words.
It kind of matched the logo for them. And then, of course, team name, but with 5 M's, with the All About the Money bling going on for their logo behind Lermy. These two teams are going to be playing for first seed in Group A. The winner of this gets a bye round in Vegas. It's a big thumbs up for them. A lot of them, and actually I think both teams have gone on record as saying that is something they very much want.
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
Because, well, sometimes we get to those seeding matches and, like, teams will be a little goofy, and realistically, I think all of them, well, I'd say all of them, unfortunately for, I guess really for Mockingbird more than anybody, they're already locked in as third, so like they know where they're going to be. They just have to hope that then Group B works out the way they want for who they play tomorrow.
Excited for that.
Yeah, over here, that is the big difference, right? A bye round to Vegas versus having to play tomorrow, play in that very initial round, those first 2 matches that we're going to be watching.
Yeah.
And as you can see in the standings and schedule, this is the last one of this knockout stage that we are going to be cracking into overall. Team name, but with 5 M's, up against Borscht, 1 p.m. Like I told you, it was tentative, right? 12:40. So
turns out like an 18-minute game will do that to you, I suppose.
Yeah, speeds the schedule up just a teensy bit. Both of these teams are 2-0. Borscht had a 3-game set yesterday versus Mockingbird, whereas team name, but with 5 M's, has yet to drop one so far this weekend. And I'm assuming that they are probably trying to keep that pace going. And the one thing I will say, and this has been really nice, is that Group A's standings have just been so easy. It's been so simple to look at. You're going to have a team that's 3-0, a team that's 2-1, a team that's 1-2, and a team that's 0-3, and it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah,
1, 2,
clear.
3, 4. When we get into Group B, and I'll have to talk about it. I'll probably say it like
They'll get a
3
little
or 4
crazy.
times. There's opportunities for a 3-way tie for bottom and a 3-way tie for top, depending on how games go today. So who knows what's going to happen? And you know what? There's also room where neither of that happens, and it's like this contingency plan.
Nice and easy.
But yeah, you never have to worry about. For now, though, team name, but with 5 M's, squad that we have seen a ton of, a lot of names that are familiar just because they've been around Smite for a long time. They've been good at Smite for a long time, going up against Borscht, a team that, again, has a lot of familiar names, a lot of players that have been around for a long time, those that have been really, really solid. The only one you could say, and maybe throw a question mark around, is Rat Milk. And then you watch one Rat Milk game and you go, actually, you know what? No questions about this guy. I understand it.
Yeah, letting that guy get the Thanatos and the little pop-off, you know, I feel like he's proven himself quite a few times thus far in the league as it's gone on. And
Jake wants to fight. Look at that. He's got the stance up.
yeah, this is a great set of guys. I'm very excited to see what they bring today. You know, maybe they'll get a little crazy too. You know, Jake is one, you know, and the pose does tell you anything about him. It's that he's a little kooky, a little crazy when it comes to those picks. Could be seeing something very interesting. We kind of joked about the Cupid support yesterday, but when I spoke to Jake earlier in the week, he was like, yeah, Cupid support, yeah.
And you know what's crazy is it's 50-50. No matter what his tone of voice, he's either really serious or he's just like, I'm going to lean into this because it's funny. And,
He'll play
and
whatever.
You'll never know until it happens. Yeah, I mean, for the longest time in Smite 1, you know, he was in ranked playing Neath support. Like that was like his thing.
His first thing was the tier support, right? That's what people knew him for. Was he just played tier support and he owned on it.
And it turns out, yeah, because when he got picked up, on the Bolts, there were people who were just like, are you the guy who like griefs my rank games? Like that guy? That's who you're locking in? Are you sure? And then lo and behold, a couple years later, it's like, actually, he's one of the best supports we've gotten to see. Really fun to watch him. And I'm really excited to see, I think, this entire squad because of that air around him, right? I also think that there's something to be said about the way the drafts have been going overall this weekend that have shifted things up. And for a change, I think we've seen everybody on this squad. We've gotten to talk to everybody on this squad, except for the coach behind him. Used to play for him, was their carry, now the coach, and came up with the name. It's Panda Cat standing by for an interview.
Hey guys, thanks. We're standing here with Panda Cat, and it's been a long journey for Borscht up to this point. Different role swaps throughout the season, some roster changes, but one thing that was interesting was things started off tough back towards the open bracket into Swiss stage, but as you guys have gone on, you've gotten better and better, and now a couple days into LAN, how are we feeling today?
I think I've watched these guys play maybe a couple of their games. Honestly, I don't want to take any credit for anything. These guys have pretty much been a 5-man roster. But they've won, and they've succeeded. And now I'm here, so they're going to succeed more. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're happy to make the LAN, and we're just going to look to improve from here.
For sure. One big talking point I've seen a lot of, especially with Twitch chat around the community, a roster of guys that know each other, had a lot of chemistry, brought Rat Milk in. What has this addition to the team meant so far in Founder Series?
I think Rat Milk was the perfect addition of a player who was new and hungry, because I kind of brought a bunch of boomers together who I know were good, but Rat Milk was the new hungry individual who I thought would be a good mesh with these guys, somebody who wants to win, because these guys obviously don't want to win that much.
Makes sense, right? Age gets to you. We heard that earlier with aggro casting.
Yeah.
But going forward, against the other way, who are we looking at? Who's the target on the other side we want to focus out, paying attention to? Who's the worrisome side?
Who? Can you rephrase the question? Who am I worried about?
Yeah, who on the other side are you worried about? Who are we focusing out on?
Their coach. He's not here today, so it's immediately a coach diff. So yeah.
Coach Diff, got it. I'm sure Twitch chat's spamming it already for you. Coach Diff, indeed. Well, thanks for talking with me, and back over to you guys.
Thank you.
I mean, there you hear it, Coach Diff, and already one side's got him, one side doesn't. It doesn't matter. Ignore the fact that one of them, and actually both squads really have a bunch of great Smite minds that have been doing the whole draft and play thing for a long time and figuring out metas. And no coach, that's the big diff. The one thing I realized, and I actually, and I like that PandaCat mentioned, because I feel like this is a really big difference. There is a certain point, and I can say this from experience, where like you can start to feel a little jaded when you've been around for something like super long, and you've been doing it for super long.
Yeah.
And so bringing in someone, fresh like Rat Milk that has that hunger, that has that grind, like it helps you recommit to what you were doing, when you can kind of rekindle that passion.
Yeah.
I feel like that's helped a lot of the success Borscht has found.
Oh, absolutely. When you have someone on your team that is just so excited to be there, that really pumps everybody up, the attitude and the morals of the team are so important. It's one of the least talked about, I feel like, aspects of what makes a team good. You can have the best mechanics in the world, but if you get tilted after one loss,
Yep.
GG. So keeping the attitudes up, keeping everyone respectful and energetic is really the benefit of having someone fresh and new, and Rat Milk has certainly brought that energy. It's been really awesome to watch this player grow, especially, like we've talked about so much before, amongst a squad of veterans, and I guess as PandaCat would say, a bunch of boomers.
A bunch of boomers. And you know what? If he's describing his team like that, I'm sure he'd also describe the other team probably like that too, given the names that are on 5Ms. It's going to be, I think, a really fun one-to-one matchup for a lot of them. I'm also curious. I wish I could see it, because a couple days ago, Jake was circling the desk, and I believe when asked about it, said that he was circling the desk like a shark, so to strike fear in his opponent, which is the unhinged energy that Jake brings. We talked a little bit about it, and we talk about Rat Milk's passion, but we also have mentioned Jake's aggression and somehow only being out-aggressed by Pagon. Very, very interesting dynamic roster. But again, if these guys are 4/5, I guess, based on PandaCat's estimations, boomer, then 5/5 on the other side for team name, but with 5Ms: Cherry, Scream, Benny Q, PBM, and Cyclone Spin.
These guys are some of the greatest to ever do it. I mean, a lot of people respect each and every member of this squad, and several of them holding that world champion ring back over in the Smite 1 days. But Gorp, this is Smite 2.
Yeah.
And they've still been bringing it. New game, no problem for these guys.
That's the one thing I'd have to go double check, because for a while I was keeping tabs on who had the most pentakills, and I think it was tied for a little while, but it's probably changed by now, at least in competitive play. Through Smite 1, Cyclone Spin was up there, right?
Yep.
That guy's a stone-cold killer. He can absolutely run the lane. Him and Mike, I think, is a duo that, a lot of people, you've gotten to see maybe on and off throughout the years, but it's just really nice. For a long time, Cyclone Spin and Roar were just the duo together, with a Roar on Cowabunga and eliminated. Having PBM and Cyclone together has been great. Benny Q as well, I think, has gotten to really flourish on this team in ways that we didn't get to see in the past in Smite 1.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Benny has definitely stepped it up across the board. I really think that he's been taking it easy, and overall, a little bit more limited on the god picks, right? That used to
Yeah.
be the Benny special, is that he would pick some weird stuff in Smite 1 with the Atlas mid, or the Terra mid, or the Chiron with Blink. I mean, we can throw it back to a lot of these different mentions for him, but I think that he's really taken this serious. He's going with the meta, and honestly, at the very tippity top of your game, when you're playing against the greats like these guys are right now, you really do have to keep that in mind. Comfort is one thing, but when everybody's comfortable in everything, starts to matter a little less.
Yeah, and the fact that we've gotten to see it, and yesterday we talked a little bit about the BinnyQ Raw, which is something that
It's
just
special.
it's a treat whenever it comes out, and it's no matter what kind of changes happen for his kit, whether it's buffs or nerfs as well, as long as Searing Pain does the Searing Pain thing, and admittedly, as long as he hits them, but. I mean, we got one at the very end of the game yesterday where he hits like 3 people with it, and like that, it's just those moments, right, where it lines up. Feels really good, but we've also seen a ton of the Poseidon. We've been seeing shift ups in mid. We've been seeing shift ups. I think Cyclone Spin has pretty much only played Kernanos this weekend if he can get it. Scream will play damn near anything, to the point where Chelly will even sit up here and he'd be like, I wouldn't say this if it was anyone else, but Poseidon could even go in the jungle for him.
That is a Scream special.
Cherry as well loves to go to the Hades. It feels like there's a couple of picks where it's like, hey, these are like the spikes. We know, hey, yes, you're probably going to go for these because you've gone for them. But they're kind of hard to predict. And both of these squads are hard to predict.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, there's a couple of wild cards across the board here on both of these teams, and realistically, they can play anything in any role, and it'll look good, right? I think the question then becomes is that, are you playing the game of, I'm going to pick something that the other team can't predict? Or are you just going to go with Old Faithful and stick with the meta? And I think a couple of players, you're talking about Cyclone Spin. Cyclone Spin does not mind playing the same thing over and over and over again if it is the best on the board.
I will say, I do think, and maybe I'm going crazy, I feel like at one point we had a game where Jing got banned, and then Kern got picked on the other side, and he went to like Danza, and we've seen him, and like the capabilities to go for Cupid right now seems to be pretty high up. So like there's definitely other carries in the game. It's just
Certainly.
You've got the one that stands out above and beyond, especially going up against Pagon. Pagon, who has also been going for things like the On Her, right? And like going away from, hey, yeah, everyone's playing that, but I want to jump in and kill you. So if you have a style, you have a style. Same thing we can say in the jungle. I believe we've seen Scream play the Susano. We've seen the Loki. Rat Milk went like 12-4 on Thanatos, right? So there's a lot of picks, I think, and a lot of capability and flexibility in these two drafts than we've maybe seen from some of the other teams.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of hard to predict, honestly, in these picks and bans coming up. I do think that, you can pretty much take away the top picks and feel pretty good about it. The Loki, I think, is on the board. Scream does love playing the Loki if he does get his hands on it. But I do have to wonder, do they go for those target picks, or are they going to take away the Yamojis, the Sobex, those really, really powerful supports? I mean, we've been gassing them up all games, all so far, and I do think that the supports are both really, really clinical in how they play.
Especially, I think Jake and Mike both have not only are they just really good at Sobek, but they've gone to it if it's available. Talking to some others, they'd say that with the patch they're playing on, Sobek might be one of the best, if not the best god that you can lock in for your team.
Pretty good.
And it turns out, when you've got, the Execute, you've got, a little bit of self-survival in there, you've got knock-up, you've got your Fleep. You've got pretty much everything you need. The Pluck. Sometimes, maybe you're out of position, but most of the time, as long as you grab the guy, you get the job done, and it gets the kill. It's also worth mentioning, again, because I was scrolling down, if you go to SmiteEsports.com, up at the very top, you can click standings and bracket, and it's got all sorts of cool little information and nice little graphics that show you everything that I'm looking at. Tomorrow, we're going to be watching the teams play Match 1 and Match 2 in the quarterfinals. For the rest of it, it is all going to be happening in Vegas, and there's going to be a lot more matches. But the winner of this one, moving in that upper bracket, staying alive, and for them, skipping tomorrow, I think, is another thing. Having a day to just kind of hang out. If they aren't Atlanta local, then they can go do whatever they want to do while they're here. Restaurants, things like that. I know, Genetics had said that at one point that he went to, a place that the Kings used to go to all the time.
Feels good.
And so you'd have that kind of opportunity. It also alleviates so much pressure. But creates this interesting conundrum that I've been experiencing, which is if you have 2 first seeds, who gets the first seed curse? and
They both do.
Everybody does.
Yeah, I think overall, though, what's most exciting about the proposition here is that I think being able to kind of skip ahead and start focusing on the new meta that's developing right now. And I think, Mike's been gassing up the Aphrodite support. No Aphrodite this LAN. but is playable in live right now.
Catch us in about a month, and and you might be seeing Mike play the Aphrodite support. We know he's going to be in Vegas. It just depends on where, and so that's a certain possibility. And at that point, I mean, there's going to be so much.
And Thor. Thor on the big stage.
Oh yeah, I mean also the new walk for our mid laners and
yeah.
I guess Baron could come back for them.
Yeah, I mean all of those bugs are fixed at this point. It's just that we're playing on this patch for the competitive integrity. Got to make sure that everybody was well practiced going into this. And for some teams, they certainly did pull that off, and it does look well practiced so far. And considering both these teams are 2-0. I don't know if it's the practice that's going to make the difference here. It's all about that adaptation to what the other team's going to bring out.
It actually is interesting as well, not just adaptation, but with the Baron ban coming through, and actually, funny enough, one of the players that was like a big, hey, we should push for this, was also one of the players that I figured wouldn't say anything because he'd benefit from it. Yeah. It was fine, okay, right? And it's really just one of those things because it was a pick that they've gone to quite a few times. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually kind of curious to see what their solo lane's going to look like because outside of the Baron, I think Fine OK's played Poseidon.
Yeah.
And I want to say those are the two that he's played this weekend.
And hey, he had a crazy Poseidon.
And you know what? We'll find out if that's going to be what it is. We get to game number 1, picks and bans Borscht versus Team Name, but with 5 M's. Borscht on the left side of the screen. Is it going to be the coach diff that Panda Cat has levied against Team Name, but with 5 M's? Will it all come down just to the play on field? Hades gets banned.
Ooh, respect.
I want to say one of the first ones. That means that for the first time in a long time, Cherry's going to have to play something different. With Poseidon banned, and again, that Baron already gone, Fine OK is going to have to play something different.
Yeah, this is some solo lane hate drafting. Both these guys going to have to play something else, whether that be the Chalk or, recently the Amo we've been seeing doing well. But this first pick, I've got to say, has to be going to Yamoja or Sobek, in my opinion. You could also leave both of them open, but the problem is that if you do that, it's possible the other side just grabs them both, and then you're stuck with a third-rate front line, which could be kind of concerning.
If the game wasn't as flexible as it is, it didn't enable you to play the style that you wanted, probably wouldn't see both, right? But solo back works really well, as we've seen. Yamoja works really well. You could still go for both of them here. I guess that's more of a Cherry question as to how comfortable he feels on that. Mike, though, more than likely going to be on this Yamoja. And it is the Loki first pick for Rat Milk on the other side.
So punished.
There you go.
Absolutely punished, by the way. And that's just how the cookie crumbles at the end of the day. When you're playing with people that can be so flexible as to play anything, why not grab the best 2 Guardians in the game?
You get Kernanos on the other side. I mean, Cyclone's going to have to change something up. Chalk, who has been a continual return to God the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And I think the consensus has been keep him out of the jungle, put him in the solo lane. And with the Loki already locked in, it kind of feels like that's going to be the matchup. So Chalk and Sobek, gonna be honest, Lermy, as exciting as that is for late game when they're rotating in, lane-wise, pretty bland. I don't think anybody's gonna be doing a lot of dying over there.
Yeah, it should be relatively simple. I mean, I don't see a lot of kill potential onto the Sobek for this Loki and Chalk, especially if we're getting some kind of global selection out of the Thanatos for Team Name It with 5 M's. Ymir, though, is the next up when it comes to the best of the best supports. I do think this is a great selection here for Jake. But the Morrigan for Baskin. This is what I love to see, ladies and gentlemen, is Baskin picking up this selection that's going to let him pop off in these late games. Pretty much always, I would imagine, going to see the Chalk come the late game. But depending on what these jungle selections are, we've already got the Loki. Could be seeing if Fenrir here is the last one to go, which provides him with a great transformation, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was going to admit that I'm a loser, and so my brain immediately went like, oh, well, hey, guess what? Now we've got a Emotion. Now we've got a Sobek, so you've got healing and pluck.
Oh!
And all sorts of stuff. But Athena locked in, and Lermy, it's not unheard of, but it has been unseen for a long time. On teams with Cherio in it, whether coached or played, Athena in the jungle.
Yeah, that's kind of the only option here, unless we
if
see...
they put, like, Sobek in the jungle, we're going to have some problems.
Sobungle? No. I don't want to see any Sobeks in the jungle. I do think, though, that this makes Team Name with 5M's comp significantly weaker. Not in the sense that they are bad characters, but they've got 4 magical characters.
Yeah.
Now. And that starts to add up when your tanks get really tanky. It does mean that this Ymir and this Chalk are going to be pretty, easy to build through, which, for these players that understand how to do the building isn't too bad, right? But the thing is if they can go into more of these utility style items because they have to build less protections of the other angle, it starts to look very, very good for those playmaking capabilities that they're able to go those things.
And also, and this has just been the experience I've seen for, you've got setup for days. You are not worried about your team fight engage. But if you are, this Jingwei, if you're this Hecate, like, you are a little more pressured to perform well. You need to do incredibly well. You need that damage. You need to make it work, and that's going to be what it is. It's a fight for first seed. It's Borscht and team name, but with 5 M's, and it's game 1 with your casters.
Thank you. It is indeed. It's Malum and it's Trelly. That means it's Anthony squared. Doug on camera, of course, and it's Borscht and 5 M's, one I've been looking forward to since I saw it on the schedule. Fighting for seeding, and both these teams have made it so clear they do not want to have to worry about playing this Sunday.
They absolutely do not, and as we've just been shown by Doug, full-out aggression here coming from Borscht. 4 blinks and a sunder, whereas 5 M's has been going with the traditional strat, which is the double sunder, but Scream actually picks up Phantom Shell, so a little bit worried about the walls from Awesome Jake. We've got a 5-man grouping here. So far, no one's going to run into each other, but if a teleport gets used... Oh, no. Okay, they're not aware of this just yet. Mike is behind 5 of them. This could be dangerous. There is no coverage just yet, and no one has spotted each other out. But I don't really think that they're going to stick around too long. Yeah, it was more so just a nice little rotation, just to see the lay of the land. Now everyone's spread up. And again, remember, Awesome Jake does have that Sunder. Mike has one as well, so could be a possible invade. That's been happening a lot here, Malum. The purple buff, the speed buff, very contestable at the moment.
And it's going to be interesting to see not just invades, but just farming in general, especially looking at Cyclone Spin's starter. We've seen a few different starters for ADCs, but catching my eye with that one at least.
Yeah, listen, the jungle starters on carries have been, tried every once in a while. Some true damage late game definitely helps. Jake is just dead here, right? Like, that is
dead. The
he gets the wall.
Cuts it off at the perfect time. Sunder hits.
No, that was clutch. He leveled the wall. I mean, Jake is. I've watched him do this time and time again, and he always holds his point. But the rocket jump was the exact way to make it out of there. Mike is just harassing Jake for the time being. Even Cherry taking a good bit of damage. There's the blink.
Do you full commit, though? Can you actually grab this?
I don't think so. You need it Sunder.
Yeah, you need the Sunder. Torrent's not up for a while, so Cherry walks away. A lot of action, but no bloodshed, at least early on, so we get through that first minute.
And that's what we want, Malum. We want blood. That's what we're here.
I was thinking the same thing. I was talking to Jorby about this. I was like, I could see this. It being for seeding, I feel like when we see those seeding matches throughout the history of SMITE 1, especially, they turn into these bloodbaths of like, yeah, we want to fight and we want to earn that day off tomorrow.
Yeah, and I'd say if the kill count is anything under like 20, they have failed us.
Yeah, they're trolling.
Right. I want to see at least 25, 30 plus kills in this game, like 17 to 22 or something. Just random numbers. Not gonna happen anytime soon. Again, look at the junglers. We've got a Loki who doesn't really love getting active early, and we've got Scream on the Athena. Definitely a pick that has been sort of popping around here and there every once in a while. Not at the top of the meta, but I just find it interesting that Scream opts to go for it when the Morgan is in play, right? Because you've given Baskin that opportunity to have that global presence as well. You think you've got a great ult, you fly over, and then guess what? Baskin's following you, and when he lands, he also has some pretty solid DPS because that's just what the Morgan provides. Scream is hovering over on left, trying to find Pagon. Pagon's got Blink here, though, so could pretty easily avoid a taunt if it came down to it, but Cherry does not have Quick, and there's the first blood going to fight okay.
Cherry can also not see colors after going down. Jake, maybe same thing. Does get a body block from Pagon, which will help out big time, and the Ymir gets away. Same cannot, of course, be said for the Chalk, and that's pretty big, too, especially Ratmilk being involved in that kill. Yesterday, if there was one sort of negative that I saw watching Borscht, it's that Ratmilk, sure, most of the graphs that we would see, and most of the stats we'd see from Founder Series, he was top kills.
Yep.
A lot of those kills were earned in hyper-aggression that sometimes would pay off. He'd get a quadra kill and walk away, but sometimes he'd be the first dead for a team fight, and his team would have to figure it out without him. So on this Loki, we've got to see Ratmilk have some discipline, especially in a game like this.
Yeah, he was kind of just like, I'm going all in regardless of positioning. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it does, and here's another attempt to get Cyclone
out. Oh, it works out perfect with a wall like that coming out from Jake. That's an easy one for Ratmilk, the second in total for Borscht. But each one that goes on that Loki is just essentially another rotation to go try to grab another one and another one and another one.
I mean, just imagine getting beads in 2024. Like we're picking up bead cycle, and that can't save you there. A blink is what you are after. Jake and Ratmilk check the speed, and Scream was hiding inside of the grass, but did not move. And so far, they have the timer. They know about 18 seconds, and we can brawl for the speed and the purple buff. This is a full 3v3, and honestly, I feel like the levels on the 5Ms is just a little bit stronger, but here comes Ratmilk.
Around the side, the freeze is good on PBM. That Riptide gets answered by the blink. The damage is on! PBM will go down. Perfectly played by Borscht, and their aggression in the jungle pays off, but they want more buffs. Speed buffs started, and Scream in trouble. Now the CC on to Scream. That should be another pickup. If not slowly, but maybe not. The dash is good, and Scream is able to walk away from that. And not even super tanky either, just making it work with Athena's given stats.
Yeah, I really thought he was going to try and ult out there, but the CC chain was too big and needed the dash. Open the gates, doesn't land, and here comes the defender of Olympus, but I think this is probably done. Yeah, underneath the tower. As you mentioned, not very tanky on the Athena, so you don't really want to tank up the tier 1 tower. You could taunt back in Ratmilk, but Hecate just does not bring that DPS just yet. I just recently played a Hecate game in ranked, and once you get those 3 items, you're chunking, but we're not at that point, you know, especially with the Sands of Time Star. BennyQ is looking much more towards the late game. With no bees on the side of Borscht, Hecate starts to look a whole lot better.
It's interesting too, because both Hecate and Athena are kind of having that same problem early on. They're not going to do too much damage right now, especially Athena jungle. You're playing for a very particular build with very sort of accentuated power spikes, so you can't rush stuff like that. And what's interesting is the answer for Borscht so far, taking advantage of that kind of wait and pray for late game for 5Ms, is you have the kills onto Loki, who, sure, good jungler, great ganks, but like, we've been talking so much about Loki throughout Founders and how late he feels in SMITE 2.
Yeah, and another thing that was brought up by the desk that I tend to agree with here is how much magical damage is on the side of 5Ms, right? We're really only looking at Cyclone here for that fizz damage, and it's going to take a while for him to even get online because he's Jing Wei. So I want to see if the builds on the side of Borscht change up a bit. Maybe we focus out the Oni Hunter's Garb, the Genjis, things like that early on, just to make sure that you're as tanky as possible for things like an Athena gank or BennyQ rotating in. Because it's going to get value in every single lane here. Body block was clean, but you get out in time.
The Aegis is there, but BennyQ's just so dead. You mentioned it, but the body block sets it up perfect. Throughout Founders, a lot of teams were actually banning the Loki away from Ratmilk as well. And I think back, and we did see a couple bans towards Scream of the Athena, but that was when Athena jungle was sort of just coming to popularity. And we'll see if he's able to clean up the later we get. 6 minutes now, Borscht pulled the Gold Fury. No real answer, the closest is PBM, but certainly not close enough, and that is 1 Gold Fury to the blue side.
Man, Ratmilk 3-0. Not a bad start at all, and he has been on point with those body blocks. Like, the decoy is not an ability that everyone really pays attention to about Loki, but it is good for blocking paths, and if you practice it and you're on point with it, it can be super annoying. As you saw, BennyQ Aegis super late there because he thought he was able to walk out and then ult and then teleport himself, you know, away. Didn't happen because he was stuck in place for such a long time. It's because of the perfect positioning there from Ratmilk. Assassinate not available. Probably thinking less about this invade attempt because of that, and he heads on back to base. But giving Ratmilk a start like this is scary because I've mentioned so many times not only the strength of Loki, but the strength of Ratmilk from ahead. I mean, I mentioned it in SMITE too long didn't watch before this tournament, but the jungler that I believe has the most potential to hard carry a game in this entire tournament. And with a 3-0 start like this, I mean, he's in perfect position to do so.
Exactly, and it's been on different characters too, but this Loki has been, all the attention goes to the Thanatos, rightly so, but the Loki has demanded respect whenever it's been grabbed. And I also don't want to forget about the rest of Borscht. We're following Baskin on this Morgan right now, looking for the steal of the Queen Naga. Baskin's made the Morgan look amazing throughout this tournament. Let's not forget how Borscht got here, right? Using the Morgan combined with Baron Sandy and absolutely making every combination of ultimate, every call nearly perfect.
I want to see who he's going to be transforming into this game. If it was me, I'd be hotkeyed on a Ratmilk for sure. You get a blink the second you transform, you get the assassinate, and you can do good damage. But I still think that Athena from Scream could be very impactful later on when rotations like that are much harder. Getting across the map in an instant is so valuable. I don't think we've seen a transformation from Baskin just yet. Hasn't really been in any sort of trouble to do so. Like the kill on the Benny Q was all thanks to Rat Milk, so it wasn't as if Baskin had to contribute too much damage, really just chuck a Dark Omen. But the build from the Morgan is also very important. You want the cooldown as much as possible, and you want movement speed. Gem of Focus is going to provide that. You get to zoom around the map, farm quickly. A little bit of a 1v1 attempt there. Beads immediately drop from Cyclone Spin. Pagon just has all the aggression in the world.
X-Stone from Jake to avoid the taunt, gets closer to the Yemo, still gets caught by the taunt. Damage on, the Spell Leader hits, the gates cleans it up. And Awesome Jake goes to the Grayscale. Well, that's a really good fight from 5Ms. They kind of needed a fight like that. It's been a quiet game so far.
Yeah, you got to be able to use this ult to your strength because, again, there's no Phantom Shell on the side of Borscht, so PBM does get immense value if he's able to find it. One Riptide was all it would have taken to find Pagon, but didn't quite land it. No reason for Pagon to worry here. A taunt underneath the tier 1 tower with no ADC in sight is not going to net a kill. Holds on to the blink for the time being. But yeah, just chuck out the River's Rebuke whenever you can, really, because you're only going to lose value as the game continues. Once you group up towards Fire Giant, it becomes a lot easier to get value from that ultimate. There's a lot of tight corridors where you can line it up perfectly, but I think just using it as much as possible on characters like Awesome Jake that have troubles with the walls is the key play here.
A lot of damage on the Cherry, but being Sobek, going to take a lot. Will force the ult out. Borscht still committing for it. Rotations are out to try to save the Sobek. Storm Call on. Still no kill on the Cherry. You've got Scream there now, and Rat Milk took a lot of damage, which forces the retreat away. It's interesting how much they were willing to commit to that Sobek.
Yeah, I mean, Cherry I thought was out the second the ult came through,
Yeah,
but
I thought so too.
I guess it was once the Assassinate came down, you had more slows, and then Final K had slows, but of course, Scream was there, and Phantom Shell was there. And the second that happens, fights drop. Cherry gets out, no problem, and you live to fight another day. I gotta say, I mean, I'm so accustomed to seeing Cherry play more, I'm not gonna say hard carry solo laners, but definitely solo laners that do a little bit more damage. The Bluestone Mystical Mail Sobek here is great. It's consistent DPS. You're going to be tanky. But it just doesn't feel like a Cherry pick to me, right? Like
Yeah, it's a big vibe switch up.
I'm used to the full damage Hades now. Used to play a lot of full intelligence Ama. Those are not the case any longer. But at the very least, Cherry gets to defend his own blue buff. Awesome Jake definitely in some trouble here. Good freeze, but can he get out?
There's the gates, answered by the ult, but won't be enough. Jake will go down. And that's a couple of times now that we've seen Jake kind of get caught out on this Ymir. We saw the Hexstone to reposition earlier on, but it's starting to feel like that Hexstone may be forced into more of an escape tool for the Ymir with how everyone's been using that item, that active. You kind of don't want to be in that spot.
No, I love the pickup of Xerxes in this tournament. We got to talk to Genetics yesterday about how he undervalued it and feels like that was a good one of the reasons why that he maybe got picked a couple times in the earlier sets was that he didn't feel like that movement was so impactful, but it has been a mainstay in just about every single support build nowadays because if you use your wall, if you use your freeze, you kind of feel like you're in a bad spot.
Solo, they're looking for a pick, but Cherry, full health. I mean, why did he ult that? I just saw the Rat Milk jump forward, but I look at Cherry's health and he's full.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they thought they could lock him down. That's the thing about Sobek. He is very hard to try and find a pick on. So you recognize there's some pressure over on right. Why not go for a Gold Fury?
Perfect call out from 5Ms. Jake is aware, but alone to step up. Pagon's going to loop around the side. Will he get there in time? No, not at all. Gold Fury to 5Ms off the back of great call outs about what was happening in solo.
There was even a rotation over as well. Once again, the airstrike, man. Pagon, like, and here's the thing about Cyclone Spin. He knows how to farm, he knows how to stay even, but he doesn't really want to get aggressive into a Ceranos, right? He's been ulting out pretty consistently. His beads has been hotkeyed. He is staying underneath the tier 1 tower. But you got to give respect to Pagon. He is someone that always wants to go in if possible. Beautiful teleport from Benny Q, gets out the Storm Call. Sure, you trade ult for ult, but you save your health bar, which is always worth it.
12 minutes across now, 2K gold lead for Borscht, 4-2 as well, and you can see the experience has been relatively even, which even in games that have been closer in gold, I feel like we've seen experience be very varied throughout this tournament so far, and this LAN in particular. So to see it so close, this matchup is living up, at least in the early game portion, but we're getting closer to mid-game. We've seen both teams put a lot of even attention to Gold Furies. It's time for bigger and better things, but Jake, again, in trouble. There's the Hexstone for the escape, and Pagon left behind, the blink to get away. Backup is here in the form of Ratfield. The Rebuke is out. Pagon's getting a lot of damage on and should go down. There it is, but PBM will trade out for it.
Yeah, I think you're happy to take that trade, Pagon. being gone means that Cyclone's Ming gets kind of free farm over on the left side of the map. Awesome Jake not ready to let Scream just walk out. He's putting a little bit more presence towards the buff spawns that are here. Speed is available. Scream not anywhere nearby. Ratmilk gets that one no problem. I like the attempt though, because Mike, again, I think should just be sending out the River's Rebuke whenever possible. Awesome Jake, you already used the wall, you already used the Xerxes. That just seems like an unnecessary death. You know, like there are times when I praise Awesome Jake's over-aggression because it's annoying. The enemy team has to deal with it. They're constantly like, where's this Ymir going? That one just seemed like an overstay.
I'm with you for sure. And we just talked about how even this game has stayed in terms of experience. If you keep kind of getting picked up like that, you're going to give experience differences over to 5M. So you'll be able to find some picks from it. So you just got to be, you've really got to be clean with that and make sure you're not doing that, especially in a moment like this. And to your point, the aggression's paid off a lot in Founders, especially towards the end of the what was basically the regular season tournament, Swiss stage and whatnot. More we got in the playoffs, just felt like, sure, that's the play, but it's got to change for this game.
I mean, even yesterday, though, I remember we were talking about how Jake was like 1 in 10, and he was still 2 levels ahead. Like he knows how to farm and feed at the same time. But when you're up against Polar Bear Mike, I mean, he's not going to be doing those plays, and he's still going to be able to stay relatively ahead. Jake Pluck doesn't have the Hex Stone available, or he does. It just came up. Can he get out? Yes. That was close.
It was really close. Might not be done with this fight, though. The taunt's in, fine, okay. Below half, but tanky enough to where 5M's backs up, and they look for Pyro, and they get it. So a great call, but now you have Defender of Olympus. Now you want the fight still. Baskin low. The rebuke was perfect, but Baskin did have it hotkeyed. He gets away, taunted back in, goes down to the spell leader. A great play from BennyQ to clean it up after the fact, and Pyro and a kill. Go to 5M's.
And this is all starting from beautiful plucks here from Cherry, and of course Mike getting a River's Rebuke out. I honestly thought Baskin was clean once he got the Assassinate, but Scream found him during the stealth. And to be fair, Confound is a pretty large ability, so it wasn't as if he had to try too hard, but still had the wherewithal to know, I'm pretty sure you're around here. And taunted him back in to confirm that kill, and putting the first death onto Baskin. BennyQ, top XP in the game, tied with Cherry at the very least as far as level 15 goes, but I've been loving the Hecate plays here. They open the gates. It's a great way to get your team in and get your team out, but now that we've got Obsidian Shard, we have Soul Gem and Gem of Focus online, Hecate's chunking. I mean, we are starting to see the damage really come through here. This is exactly where she starts to become more of a threat. And one of my favorite combos that you can do, and I've seen a few times, is you can wait for Athena to dash in, put the shield on her. You're going to get immediate value from the taunt because, you know, they're in range of that shield. You get that explosion, and then you're charging up your second ability as well that's in the sky. You can just drop so much damage on it once, and they can do it whenever they want. I mean, Screams went relatively tanky here. He went Glad Shield in the second slot and is going into just a little bit more later on. So he can feel free to go in, get the taunt, just to get some of that extra poke out for BennyQ.
One thing, too, with the Hecate that goes just with that point is when Ratmilk, if he tries to aggress onto BennyQ, you're going to get the same thing. The ultimate's going to be dropped at the feet of BennyQ, and all of a sudden Ratmilk has to react to that ult and reposition either with his blink or with his ult to try to get away from it and avoid being completely sent around or taking a ton of damage. So you got to play it right. Fine, okay. Flanking from the top right, but it looks like Borscht isn't fully interested in an engagement. But I have seen Fine okay in that exact spot quite a few times now.
Yeah, he likes making the rotation over, I'm guessing because BennyQ is such a enticing target, right?
Yeah, plus you got Cherry in left.
Yeah, if you force out that ultimate, then you're able to get to BennyQ much easier. So just trying to open the gates is always a good idea. And Scream can cover the wave pretty easily. Does seem like Cherry's trying to either A, just AFK over in duo, or try and get some damage onto Pagon. But he's got Blink, he's got Dash, he's always going to be okay. You should never be soloed by Sobek as long as you have Blink and your Dash available. It would all change, though, if Scream decided to ult over. You got to put respect to it, and now Gold Fury has started up. I don't think anyone from 5Ms can get here.
How fast it's burning, yeah, not at all. Second Gold Fury for 5Ms. That's a third of the game as well. So now it's 17 minutes. The next Gold Fury to spawn from here on will be Ancient Fury. And teams have been putting plenty of value on that in this land, rightfully so. This game's going through all the motions. It's got all that closeness we're looking for, but still no breakout moments.
No, not yet. I mean, we had the Pyromancer go down as well. That's still in Cyclospin's pocket. He's got the Runic Bomb. Has not really found the opportunity to use it. But, I mean, Malin, time and time again, there's been moments where objectives have just been pulled for the heck of it, right? Not even because you're ahead, just because you feel as if you can burn it quickly. Fire Giant has definitely been one of those options here. You just see yourself like, oh, we're 5v3, let's just go and see what happens. Take a look at Scream's third item. He went Death Metal. That's an active item that buffs the team, and it has been very underutilized this event. I don't know if it's the first time I've seen it, but it probably is, at least for this weekend. It's going to be interesting. I mean, Athena is great for those extra auto attacks, but this is more so a buff for the whole team to do objectives faster.
It's funny you pointed out, because when I was in the booth interviewing PandaCat, like right as I had walked in, they were talking about Death Metal, which I thought was interesting for the same reason. We haven't really seen that item, but I wouldn't have expected to see it on the Athena, but with how you're playing, I guess it does make a lot of sense, especially if you can get Cyclone to more aggressive positioning. Jake will use the Hex Stone to get away from BennyQ's ultimate, so that's down, but Jake gets to live. Another important power spike we've been mentioning all week as well. Fatalis online for Pagon, so CERN's going to be sprinting around the map.
See, but I'm happy with that with Jake, though. I think the Hex Down for BennyQ's ultimate is well worth it, because Jake still has the rocket jump. He's got beads. Benny's ult is what he's been using to get away from these beefier targets that are diving him. Unfortunately for Jake, here comes Cherry. There's the pluck. That should be curtains.
And the Emoja ult actually affected Jake and the Pyromancer. Borscht backed off, they lose Jake, and the fight clean up in time. 5Ms has started it really strong. Fine, okay, takes a lot, does get away. The block not gonna hit. That would have been a different story.
Baskin, Ratmilk both still have ultimates. It seems like Borscht is trying to fight here. They're playing it slow, but here comes Scream. Beautiful top, but the blink is better.
BennyQ gets the first one. No more Pagon, and Ratmilk, no opportunity to go in. Without Ratmilk being a part of these fights, there's so much nullified for Borscht, and 5Ms were able to take advantage, and they walk right over to the Fire Giant. Now, what's the answer? You gotta think of it quick. You gotta think on your feet if you're Borscht, as Fire's been started up. You got Ratmilk close by. Fire Giant's at health. The pluck onto Ratmilk, so they've got the location of the Loki.
Final stole
got a
before.
spot. Baskin turned into Athena, but the Fire Giant goes to 5M still. They make it work through all the chaos right in the face of Borscht. Ratmilk does get one on the PBM, though, so not a free Fire Giant for 5Ms.
Might not be done either. Pyromancer is definitely the target here. It looks like Ratmilk's just going to go on back to base. Definitely a smart call. I love the attempt, though, man. Final K has made some plays before. Yep, Baskin goes in. There was the blink in from Fino just to try and silence and make some noise, but Fire Giant does go the way of 5Ms. Pagon at least gets to confirm his own butt, but Ancient Fury is going to be a big deal. I guess Scream was worried that he was getting chased down, so just ulted out to be smart. And you know what? That's a play that I think not a lot of people make. And it's well worth it, even though we've got the perspective, we know that no one was coming to gank Scream there. A lot of times you'll die because you hold on to that ultimate so long, or you don't want to use your beads, or you don't want to use a relic, whatever it may be. You've got Fire Giant here. It is such a waste unless you get it going. Cherry goes under just to try and get some damage. There's really no follow-up here just yet. Cherry's just getting active for the second, but he gets him!
It's working out! Baskin's already dead. Ratmilk has to get away. Cherry's still standing. Will finally disappear, but Final K will pay the price. That's two. Another great play from Scream so far. The Athena really starting to pay off. That time it almost saved Cherry. He almost was able to walk away from that, which that might have been a bit too criminal, I suppose. But regardless, 2 picks go the way of 5Ms. Now they've got Fire. They've got a strong lead, only growing as they can grab these objectives up. It went from so close to such a powerful position for 5Ms.
Yep, they get themselves the Ancient Fury. It's not going to work on any Phoenixes just yet, but it will certainly help push that gold lead even further in their favor after these tier 2s go down. And I love the ability of Cherry to just walk in there. I didn't feel as if it needed to be forced, but sometimes when you have a lead like this, you just go in for the sake of going in, and a 1-for-2 trade is going to be well worth it. Borscht can at least celebrate a bit knowing that Fire Giant has been knocked off of Cherry for the time being, but you still have to try and defend your tier 2 towers that are going to be weakened by that of Ancient Fury, at least the tier 2 and right and mid. 5Ms are going back to base here, Malm. They want to spend up their gold. Something to note. First of all, Scepter picked up for Scream, so that's going to be interesting. But we also have to consider...
I am such a Scepter Dominion fanboy.
Yep. If you have all this gold in your pocket and you don't go and spend it, the gold lead's not real yet. You have to spend that gold for it to matter. So 5M is backing every single time they get a small little power spike because they understand, oh, a new active item for Scream, that's going to be a big buff. Oh, Cyclone's been finished as shifters, that's going to be a big buff. Final case, beads being used. Oh, and he had the ult, the Scepter, and that's exactly what it's used for. Final K was happy to just walk out there until he saw the Scepter go through, and he's like, okay, I'm going to be stuck here for a while. I need to get out of this.
And important to note that the Scepter Dominion cooldown, really not that bad.
Yep.
You can see it's already down to 72 seconds, so 5Ms can make use of it some more. And even if it's the Force abilities like that, you can burn so many for any impending fights that were to happen right after. Jake, okay, it was scary, forces another active away from Borscht, so they're continuing that slow burn.
Phoenix, probably not the target here. They're attempting to walk forward, though. Good wall from Awesome Jake. Awesome Jake's getting shredded, though.
Baskin turns into Chalk, looks at the back line. It's good enough to displace 5Ms and potentially save Jake, who just took so much. 5Ms can't find a good enough opening, so they go to back out. Followed, the pluck in the fine, okay, might be stuck. He is indeed. Cyclone Spin makes him pay for getting caught out like that. That's one member down for Borscht on this defense.
Don't really have a lot of ultimates here. It's up to Ratmilk to make a big play. Phoenix now, it's looking like a good idea, but look at this. Scream taunts forward. Awesome Jake is the target. The Hexstone gets him out of trouble for the time being, but they're still going forward.
They're marching in. Pagon tries to blink away. It's successful, but the Titan is started up already by 5Ms. Borscht have got to find some kind of answer for this. The taunt onto Ratmilk. He's down too. That Titan might just die with 5Ms, but they're starting to lose some health. And Pagon's able to make a pick happen onto Cherry. So the defense holds on, but 5Ms give Borscht a heck of a scare.
Man, Baskin on the chase. Okay, they're going to let him go. 5Ms. I didn't even think the Phoenix was possible. Final K made
an end, right?
Yeah, Final K definitely made a
stress ball.
A little bit of an overextension there. I don't think he had to go into the torrent. He definitely saw his team was poking out. He's like, hey, maybe I can feel a little tanky, walk forward, but beautiful pluck by Cherry. You got to remember how much lockdown and CC that 5Ms really has here. And once Final K is gone, the game starts to look a little easier, right? I mean, Awesome Jake is not that tanky. Only has 3 items to his name, and one of them is the Hexstone that is just going to get you out of trouble one single time. Pulled the beads, and now you don't have a front line. Now you have to give up that Phoenix and back up. A little bit of a gank attempt here. Could Mike even die? Well, the freeze would have needed to be hit for that one. So Riptide's going to get you out of trouble every day of the week. But Fire Giant could be the target here for Borscht, and they do. They started up. Remember, Scream's over on left, but he can ult over in an instant. Are they just going to 50-50 this, Malum?
Looks like they will. 5Ms
got bomb.
nowheres. Scream's here now. The gates will separate. Fire's at 3K, but it's going fast. The Scepter of Dominion to slow things down and try to keep Borscht from getting it. Pagon's taking a lot. Benikir will get the Fire Giant for 5Ms, and Borscht drop just as fast. You cannot do that in the face of 5Ms. They will make you pay. Now time to clean house. Ratmilk down. Next up, going to be fine, okay. And 5Ms, remember, they've already broken open that base.
Yeah, there's going to be a slow burn here, but the Titan is definitely going to be the target. I can see why Borscht felt like they needed to make that call. They had the Runic Bomb, but even if they confirmed it, Malum, this Titan was certainly going to drop. They used just about everything to try and burn through that Titan. Final K just has to sit back and watch this one go. He doesn't even have a storm call to his name to go. And if I'm Borscht, I'm thinking about game 2 already. How can we stop Scream from going 1-0 and 14? He was a part of every single kill that was on this map. If someone died, it was not without Scream's influence.
It's so insane. That game had so many different types of stages, not just stages, right? The early game, it was like, okay, who's going to blink first? This feels like a lot of the better games have felt so far throughout this knockout land. Mid-game was, hey, things are starting to pull away, but it does feel like Borscht is not afraid to step up and answer 5Ms at any given moment. But by late game, it really felt like, okay, well, Borscht needs 5Ms to make a mistake now and have any chance.
Yep, and that was the other thing as well, is the fact that 5Ms seemed like they had late game on their mind the whole time, right? They're like, we don't have to overextend. Scream's going to go a more tanky build. He'll do damage late game, but you still have to give credit to 100% kill participation, man. That is so difficult to do, even as a jungler. I guess the global presence helps, but when you see Cherry diving the backline, when you see Scream being able to follow it up, Benikir always has the damage off the CC. They were all just working in tandem so well.
It was really crazy to see, and we never got to really see Ratmilk get going for Borscht, and that's been one of, if not their key to success going forward. So with game 1 out of the way and seeding on the line, something's got to change going into game number 2. Well, that's something B. We'll find out when we get back from the break. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, Smite fans, to the Smite 2 Founders Series. I said Smite almost too many times. Now it's 3. I'm pretty sure that means I've summoned it. Founders Series Knockout LAN, that's the other part of what I was saying.
That's what we're summoning.
Yeah, that's what we're summoning. And we're maybe looking, well, I guess we've already seen the knockout, one knockout so far. And we get a win for 5Ms. Maybe you watched that game, but you missed some earlier this week, or you missed some from the Founders Series earlier on, and you just want to go check them out. Maybe you're just, really pining for something from 8 years ago, whatever year that would have been in Smite. Well, the good news is you can go to Smite VOD on YouTube and catch all of your favorite series. There's playlists for a ton of different things. Seasonal games, World Championships, Founder Series games, you name it. If you, for some reason, really are curious what the meta was like in 2016 on a random Tuesday, you could go find it at youtube.com/SmiteVOD. Of course, for all your historical Smite purposes and just sometimes for a fun playlist to have on in the background. I like doing that whenever I need background noise. That's like a very common thing nowadays is when you need something on the TV. I have Twitch on my TV, so I just will do that, or YouTube and usually it's Smite game because guess what? We're live a lot, so it's very simple to make sure that we've got all sorts of content at youtube.com/SmiteVOD. But first and foremost, right now, we're talking about those guys, 5Ms. The M stands for monies, and right now they're fighting at 1-0. Couple of Fire Giant fights gone right, and just absolutely able to kind of run the show from there.
Yeah, started off really strong in that game. A little bit concerning, though, with a couple of those ganks from Rat Milk at certain points of the game. But I think really the big star of the show here was Cyclone Spin. Just huge focus on getting him fed on this Jingwei. You'll have to see it as well that Benny was able to step it up, get some crazy open the gates. I love that ultimate. It is such a showstopper, playmaker-style ultimate. And to see the team being able to use those effectively to traverse the map, deal a bunch of damage if you're hitting it, or just create a big zoning ult if you need it. It's been phenomenal to see this level of play come out from this new character, just Smite 2.
Yeah, not only that, but, when you're locking in an Athena jungle, you want the assist column to look like crazy. And I'd say 1-0 and 14 has looked like crazy. Like a Scream, we had talked about it a little bit. I'm curious. I'm going to look at the damage numbers real fast because it did actually out DPS, or I should say out damage Cyclone. DPS might be a different story, especially towards the end there. Of course, Cherry is solo lane, so that's fake damage for at least 2,000 to 3,000.
Give him a little bit there. I think the important thing to note here, though, with the Athena, though, is that Scream is opting into a lot of interesting active options. We saw a little death metal there to help pump up the damage numbers for his whole team.
One of the best sound cues in game when you activate it.
Very cool. We have gods of music, right? But we also have got the item of metal. Maybe we'll get a metal god someday.
Yeah, my favorite builds, and Lermy, I'm going to use this to influence you, so hopefully for more items in the future. I want a bard build. I want to be able to build death metal. I want Braggy's harp. I want it to be viable that I just build nothing but instruments. One of them can even turn my weapon into a guitar that I beat people with. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so
so anyway, the game.
The rest of the build there, I think, was very interesting across the board.
Yeah.
I liked this new style, though, from Scream to play a little bit more facilitator because, again, not very many kills in his column. But like you said, the assists were crazy. Not too concerned about going that 4 magical draft either, and it turned out pretty well that they were able to get enough of a lead to, if you stall out to that late game, that starts to be pretty impactful on the overall game state. But if you're ending it, before this 30-minute mark when things start to get really close to that late game pointer, it's not that big of a deal. I think a lot of people, especially in the more casual queues, will say, "Oh, you got 4 physical, 4 magical, game's over, GG." But as you can clearly see here, ladies and gentlemen, it's not instantly over. It's all about how you play it.
Well, especially because, we mentioned it, but you look at the assist column, and what does that tell you? It says, well, Athena went in and taunted, and then with the 24,000 damage Benny did, you'll never guess who was following up a lot of the time. But then Cyclone Spin, and when you have a draft like that, you just really need the one that's not magical damage or physical damage if it's the other way around to kind of carry the load for that side. Jingwei does that pretty well, as it turns out.
Yeah, she scales well, and it also helps when you get a couple nice kills over in that early game.
Yeah.
Super exciting stuff. I wonder how we're going to adjust to it, though, in game number 2 there, because Borscht, I'd say backs against the wall, right? But this is all about playing on Sunday.
Well, we'll find out. How do they adjust? It's picks and bans for game 2. Kicks off. Team name, but with 5Ms. This time will be first pick, Borscht on the other side. Remember, last time around, and Lurmy had a beautiful called shot with it. Was if you lock in something that's not Yemoja or Sobek, the other team just locks in both, and that's exactly what Team Name But with 5Ms did. It was Poseidon and another one that was a target banned towards the solo lane, Hades. I knew it was a god that I hadn't expected to see down there, and it will be that one more time. Maybe this time anticipating the ability to strip Sobek or Yemoja away.
Yeah, I would also do this. If I had the performance that Mike had, I'm saying put me right on back to that Yemoja. Let me slam it one more time, and then no shocker over here for Borscht to think about going for the Sobek. Because again, it really seemed clear that Team Name But with 5Ms was more than willing to pick up both. Gotta take it away now. That's gotta be your #1 priority. And Loki gonna be taken away here once again from Scream, who at this point apparently has an Athena just in the back pocket with a very interesting build path. Could go towards that again, but you can hold off on that pick for now.
Realistically, you could tell me, like, hey, guys, turns out Scream's playing Yemoja jungle, and I maybe wouldn't agree with it, but I'd still believe you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he does like to play different gods, different styles, different builds, as we've seen. It's not a new occurrence that has been there for a while. Will admit, I don't expect any of the gods on Team Name But with 5Ms to be for him just yet, and Anubis gets locked in. Something else that Baskin has gone to a couple times this weekend.
Yeah, it's been a little bit rough here for Baskin on this pick across the board. He has managed to pull out wins with it, so I will say, you know, even at the end of the day, even if Baskin is going, you know, not the most positive, he's still bringing the
1-9.
damage. Not a great individual performance, but it did lead to the set win, right? So you got to give it kudos in accomplishing that much. I do think that it is a still worthy pick. Is it better than Zeus? Questionable at that point.
Dubs where dubs is due. Like you said, got it the other day, despite a not great looking slash line. And alongside Loki, Jingwei, Sobek, I mean, you've kind of got top to bottom everything that you would want. Scream seems to be feeling this Athena pick very solidly. Very similar style, although this time now Chalk instead of the Sobek, presumably for Cherry in the solo lane. But against the Ama, who we saw earlier, can be a little bit of a bully.
Yeah, Ama versus Chalk seems to be the matchup here. I'd be a little bit surprised if it was anything but
else.
Scream going back to this Athena in the jungle. A little bit more of a traditional comp here with 3 of the magicals and 2 of the physicals here for Team Name But with 5Ms. And I think overall, just more well-rounded. But is it a better comp? Honestly, no. I do think that Borscht got some very, very solid picks here when it comes down to it. The one thing that is the big question mark for me in this game is the mid lane. Because here's the thing, Anubis is great when it comes to dealing with squishies. He can burst down anybody with the chains to his ultimate coming into Smite 2. But the thing is he's up against 3 tanks. And if Scream is building the same as he did last game, it's going to be very tough to deal with.
And here's the thing, like, even though he can move while he's casting his one, Athena just dashes and taunts you. Like that's like her whole thing.
Oh, so you're moving back to me.
Yeah, so really it's this, hey, you know what, come get back over here. And that's kind of the upside, I guess, of bringing Athena to the table, right?
Yeah.
Is having that readily available CC, I guess in this case for the Hecate, a second time in a row. And now a Kernanos behind it, which Cyclonesman has been loving. It does feel like Team Name But with 5Ms, similar style. It's just going to be whether or not it executes the same way with slightly different gods, and we'll find out if it executes the same way. It's first seed on the line. Will Team Name But with 5Ms get it, or will Borscht push us to 3? We'll find out with the casters.
Thank you. Indeed, it's Anthony Squared back still casted away. It's 5Ms on your order side, Borscht hanging out Chaos side. 5Ms, they want the day off tomorrow, and if they got to do that, they've got to win this game. And Borscht, they're fighting for a lot, because I kind of feel like a little bit of that last game just didn't feel like the Borscht way. So if they're looking to bring back a bit of pride, a bit of what they've been doing throughout this Founders series. And this time, nobody going to the opposite sides of the map. We're a bit close.
I want to see a pluck from Jake or something. The brawl could be kicking off here. I know Awesome Jake's held his point so far, but he's going to put something in. No, they don't want it.
And they're
Borscht
pretty
left.
gentle.
They left. They said, you know what, 5Ms won game 1. We don't want to risk it. So we're just going to head on back. I do like the draft here from Borscht. They do seem like the early game is not going to be too kind to them. Just because Baskin's on the Anubis, that's always good. It's going to be able to outclear Benny. But the way that Scream was piloting this Athena, was not too aggressive anyways, right? He was kind of staying back and avoiding fighting as much as possible. Wasn't really going for too many invades. Which tells me 5Ms, not only do they know their power spikes of their composition, they also know where they can get active, and it's mostly around Mike, right? This Yamoja was an absolute menace. I mean, the constant spam of the bubble bounces, the moon strikes, the stuns, everything was enough to just create a lot of action early on. Benny and Basket just scrapping back and forth. This is not a trade that Benny likes to take, but honestly, he's kind of a demon with these auto attacks, so it's not too bad.
Maybe the wrong ADC, at least in terms of autos so far. Jake, rooted, damage on, getting lower. Is this the first blood? It is! To 5M, Cyclone Spin and company picking up right where they left off, bringing down awesome Jake. And I was just going to say to you, I'm excited to see Jake on the Sobek as opposed to the Emir. We just saw right at the end of the knockout, or excuse me, the playoffs before Knockout LAN for Founder Series, Jake had an astonishing performance on Sobek. So for it to start off like that, not the kind of vibe you want, a blink away from Baskin will be okay.
Decent enough slow. Benny Q really needs to hit level 2 here. You're in a lot of trouble if you don't. Has not came through, which means blue buff is guaranteed goes the way of Borscht unless a steal over the wall happens, which I don't think you even attempt to go through because buffs die so quickly in the early game. They might even be able to get caught out here at Oracles. Baskin's on the way, and Benny Q has beads to his name, so a wrap or any sort of CC a slow could be disastrous, but looks like Scream's just going to go the old scenic route and make sure no kills fly out. Remember, there was a blink used from Baskin. That's down for 200 seconds, so Anubis could definitely be caught out if there was ever a CC lockdown or some just good damage throughout. Like the big healing factor from Smite 1 that you may remember about Anubis doesn't really kick in Smite 2. Not because there isn't lifesteal, there certainly is, but it's not the build path that people take, Malum. You see a Soul Gem, but that's about it. I haven't seen Typhon's Fang build in a good while, and there you go. Punish the blink being down. Baskin dies again. Not Baskin dying again, but 2 kills on the way for 5Ms, and this time it's Scream. But I just realized because Jake died, that means that he won't be able to have 100% kill participation this game.
Crazy. Could have gone for an insane streak there, but it's funny. I'm glad the Des talked about it, because that was one thing I was thinking about. We were looking at this Athena from the scope of what we're used to, right? You build the full damage, you go for the blow-ups, but Scream, and going back to previous My Too Long Didn't Watches, you were on this from the very beginning of Founder Series. I hate how much I'm complimenting you already.
I love it.
But Scream was so about the map, about the team. Back to Mordred, where he was building Hussar's wings to get farm faster and move around. Same thing Lasbro was doing. So for Scream to go back to that for this Athena, it makes a lot of sense. You facilitate for the rest of 5Ms. Benny Q's been on target with abilities. Cyclone Spin has been really good so far this LAN. It all checks out, and it's equaled one of the best versions of 5Ms we've seen.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call myself a genius for noticing that, Malum, but, you know, you definitely could. Benny Q, unfortunately, does all the auto
got him.
Need to come through. Well played, even with the beads. I'm surprised Scream dashes in here. You're definitely going to get the Death Gaze, and luckily Aegis was available this time around for Scream, so not the end of the world, but not a great time to dash in. The second Anubis takes over to level 5 as you use your dash. Risky. And, of course, Scream did not expect it, so ended up having to use the Relic there. But that was beads off of Benny Q as well. Remember, the Sakate, not very safe, especially when you don't have access to your ultimate. So I'm going to pay attention to Rat Milk and Baskin. They may try to get one more gank off before the next 2 minutes when those beads come back up.
I feel like Rat Milk needs to have a much better version of a late game this time compared to the previous. Not just for the obvious reasons, but in terms of presence. I feel like the Loki wasn't too much of a worry for 5Ms at any point towards the late game, because the Athena seemed to be the answer for it. Whether it was Baskin becoming Loki or Rat Milk, it was, all right, if you get close to us, we're just going to taunt you and kill you because we know what you bring. And if Rat Milk can't be that hard carry, can't be that top of the kills stat sheet he has been, it's a very different Borscht team.
You're absolutely right, and that's the thing. He started off great. Ramok was like a solid 3-0-1, I believe, but just could not translate that into the late game because there's not as many squishy targets to go for. This is what I was hoping for, but Benny gets the ult. Can he get through?
To the tower! It's working out great. Defender's on the way, but Benny could not bring down Rat Milk. Baskin will fall to Scream, but not quite as perfect as he wanted. But Scream, can he clean up both?
Gotta find him.
He looked 3 directions, but not the one that Rat Milk had gone. That's tough. That's tough for Scream, but still a good response, and you grab the pick.
Surely not, right?
3-2 on the scoreboard.
Oh, come on.
It was there.
I wanted to see the double.
It wasn't in his eyes, but it was in his character's
yeah.
movements.
And that's the thing about Scream. Sometimes he gives you the deadpan look like the stone cold killer vibe, then sometimes you can't really read him.
Yeah.
But you'll be able to tell that he really did want to dive that tower. If he had blink, he was certainly going for it. But well played by Ratmilk. Chose the right path and not get hit by any of the reaches. And I'm actually surprised that Baskin ended up dying there. I guess there was a full wave waiting for him. I mean, Benny played that about as well as he can. He teleported into tower, waited for the ult from Scream. Unfortunately, just did not have the damage here. Baskin blink. And now, again, down for 240 seconds. Baskin is significantly less safe for that time. Could be a taunted to an ultimate. Could be just trying to bail out the death gaze. There's ways to try and play through it, but I do want to see Scream continue to put the pressure on in mid, just because of how easy of a target it is to try and find Baskin.
Baskin can get so scary on this Anubis, too. There's been so many games where Baskin locked in the Anubis, we kind of sighed at it, kind of groaned a little bit, then we get in game and the damage would just be out of control. Jerry just harassing Fine, okay.
That's tough, though. Like, he used his
back.
one to proxy, and there's the big minion. He's going to be here a while. Like, it takes you so long to clear him. And Mike came over and just kind of ate the wave, too. I wonder where he goes. Do they go to mid with the ult? They've got rivers.
Feels like I was going to say what was interesting, too. We saw so much of Solo rotating around. We saw Fine, okay, and Cherry both living on the left-hand side at different times in the previous game. And no interest in that at the moment. No 5-minute Gold Fury. 6 minutes in and no full interest on it. Just a different vibe overall to this one. One thing the desk was talking about I want to touch on as we see the gold starting to get in pocket. Its first items finished, working on second items. Active items, the stocks are skyrocketing for them at the moment.
Yeah, it depends on how you want to play, how you want to build, but you know, 5Ms in particular has been using a ton. I mean, Scream picked up, what, 3? Maybe just 2 yesterday, or yesterday. It was earlier this game. Wasn't yesterday at all. That's how long ago it feels.
Time's a construct.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely is, and it felt just a little bit longer. But I'm surprised Mike went over to right when he did. It's because all the buffs were spawning over on the left. It looks like he knew he was still going to make it back for his own purple buff. And the red was the attempted invade. Has not really came through. Haven't seen a lot of aggression either. The one defender of Olympus wasn't bad from Scream. I mean, it helped pick up an extra kill and try to keep Benny Q alive. But there's been a lot of pulls towards the Queen Naga whenever it spawns in. Benny Q knows this is here, but does not want to get plucked back in. Might have to use the ultimate, and he certainly does.
Called it all so far. There's the rebuke as well. Defender going to join the fight. Look at the damage onto Baskin. He'll go down to Scream, but the mid laners will trade out of support to the pile. And a double kill so far for Ratmilk, who goes down just as fast. It's a Cherry. 5Ms, they grab the Queen Naga and a couple of kills. They do lose 2, but that Queen Naga, that makes a difference.
Man, that's the kind of play that Final K just puts. VF3, enemy missing left, or right in this case, but he's left. If you flip the screen around, that's the way he's playing. He's on the left.
I follow you, yeah. I trust you.
Yep.
Too dyslexic to distrust you.
Yeah, just trust me on that one, because Final K did not make the rotation, and Cherry was the difference maker there. The fact that Chalk made it all the way over to the Queen Naga spawn on the left side of the map is just ridiculous. But team name, but with 5Ms. First of all, still ridiculous that that's their name. Second of all, they are a team that are not scared to group up early on, right? If there's a small objective, there's a big objective. If it's a buff invade, they are still going to be able to group up to make the most out of it. And Cherry was the difference maker there. Mike taking a lot of damage. No death gaze comes through, but here comes Ratmilk.
Jake's already dead as the fight starts out. Scream will get the credit for it. PBM chase down and will go down to find okay. Starts off as a 1-for-1. But Scream turns that corner with Benny Q and be all right. Does set up Gold Fury. Cyclone Spin is aware, but it's going to be tough if you even go for it. They won't bother. Gold Fury goes to Borscht.
Yep, and I was just giving Cherry his props, so I got to give it over to Final K as well. That play is only possible if Final K makes the rotation and Cherry doesn't. So it's kind of a battle of the solo lane rotations here. Great Gold Fury by Borscht. They understood exactly where they could put that presence, and they also knew, hey, Cherry just rotated out. There's no way he's going to do it again, right? And that's just the solo lane mindset. The second that you've rotated to your team, you've said, you know, foolish mortals, I've helped you. Now I'm going to go back and get farm. Cyclone forces out the airstrike, and Pagon has become a little bit less safe over in duo lane. Man, every time we watch CERN beat Jingwei, hold that thought. Final K's in trouble.
Should have. No, doesn't have the taunt already down, so Final K steps away. Got dangerous pretty quickly. But yet, back to that dual lane fight, at least while we have time with all this grouping and right, it does feel like the 1v1s between CERN and Jing have been really interesting.
They've been going to CERN, right? Am I crazy? I feel like every single time it's just CERN is able to...
And Jing has to ult away.
Yeah, the Jingwei has to play so fearful. And don't get me wrong, when the Jingwei's ahead, FineOK finally goes down. I didn't think he would stick around.
I know, I'm surprised
with how weak he was
all that
right?
time. I was expecting him to just kind of like back up, maybe walk all the way. Dual lane, though, takes advantage of all the attention rights. Let's scrap ourselves. Look at the damage onto Ratmilk. Cyclone Spin continuing the hit. Should pay the dash in, and it's dead. Jake with the credit. Now the look at PBM. Pagon not missing so far. The tail whip helps. The Riptide blocked, but can he bring down the Yemo? Now that the chalk is here, the damage turns onto Pagon, and he might just go down. But he gets the dash away, but the axe hits on the head top, and Pagon goes down.
Man, Cherry he understands the map so well. He backed up and used not the teleporter, but the lane teleporter, right? That gets you over towards the tower as quickly as possible. He understood, hey, I'm not going to use the TP that gets me all the way over to left lane. It's faster if I back and walk up to lane and then ride that one over towards tier 2. Because I don't think Mike ever is able to kill Pagon there by himself. But when you have a chalk to help out, things just go so much differently. And it's been a back and forth. FineOK's over in lane. Cherry's over in lane. They're both rotating out.
Yep.
I'm going to keep paying attention to it because it does seem so far, again, gold lead's still in favor of 5M, so whatever team gets their solo laner active first has been winning the engagement. Probably around the next Gold Fury is when we'll see them rotate out again. But FineOK isn't very tanky. That's something else to notice. It depends on how you build, but usually Pharaoh's Curse is the first tank item these solo Amas are picking up in the 3rd slot. Until then, Ama's not very tanky. Like, don't get me wrong, crazy amounts of attack speed and damage, but the tank stats just aren't there yet.
Big switch up from the previous game. So far, Scream 5-0. Was all assists, was basically an assist spot.
1-0 and 14.
Had an arena stat line in the previous game. So far, 5 kills strong, 9 total for 5Ms. And they're sitting on a pretty comfy gold lead coming up on 12 minutes. 1 gold Fury's been dropped so far this game. That's gone to Borscht. But this was around the time in the last game where things really started to get interesting and the map play evolved. We'll see if it continues. Tension on FineOK, the taunt, the damage, it's all good, but FineOK gets the dash away. How big is the chase? There's also action mid lane while this chase on FineOK happens. Scream will be the last hit to bring FineOK down. Queen Naga pulled by Borscht.
And that's what I'm talking about. I don't think Ama should ever die there, but FineOK opted to go for this build where it takes him a bit to get online. It seems like he may be even going for a pivot here. It looks like the Chaos team will take the Queen Naga, so Borscht picks that one up no problem. You gotta push left. I mean, whenever there's so much action happening over on the right side of the map, you need to take everything that you can from left. And look at Cherry already at the Gold Fury here. FineOK is going to take some time to rotate over, and he might just want to go back to lane and try and farm up. But with Scream having the Defender of Olympus down, he would have to go over to that teleporter if he wants to get over here, and it seems like he does. Only Awesome Jake can go in for the steal.
Jingwei can come around the side if it goes slow enough, but it's going pretty fast, down to 1,000 already. The Gold Fury, when will it die? It's been halted. PBM able to secure it for 5Ms. Can they find any picks off the back of it? Jake is low, but the Waters will get him away. Screen's been chasing down Pagon, who's also low at the tower line. Baskin forced to ult. Eats the gates, the damage not enough so far. There it is. The Plague will bring down Benny, and Baskin yet to die. Some sustain coming through. PBM will fall to Ratmilk. Pagon did lose out on that chase from Scream, and now Scream is on the way to help Cherry, but he can't get close enough to Baskin. That will be no, maybe more. The Talisman has to come out, and an aggressive play from Ratmilk, which was dangerous with that axe. The pluck, no good.
Man, action back and forth. I really thought Baskin was going to go down there, but unfortunately, Cherry was just a little bit late with the Storm Call, which meant the Plague of Locusts got fully channeled, which means Benny Q dies. All off of aggression that he thought was going to be well-founded. I mean, there was a small bit of healing from the Soul Gem, but that small bit was just enough to keep Baskin alive.
It gave FineOK that farm you've been asking for, too.
Yep, he was able to stay away. I mean, the same goes for Cyclone, right? Both did not rotate out. They just stayed in the side lane while the rest of the team was scrapping. But Baskin has become an absolute threat. He's got 10% pen on that eye and is now just threatening. Pyromancer started up. Benny Q is here. Does have ultimate. Do you send it on to Baskin? You absolutely do, and Baskin has to use the Death Gaze.
Jake gets closer, uses that for the pluck. The beads is out instantaneously to try to hang on through it. The Pyro has been let go. Jerry's here, same for FineOK. An aggressive play by Cherry, same for Screen. The taunts are on, the Spell Eater helps lock it down, and Baskin eats the dirt. PBM will get away, too low to stay, but Jake's still gonna go down, and BennyQ still throwing, already found a double kill, and Borscht are too low to stay. They've got to back up. That might be a pyro for 5Ms with no answer from Borscht.
They've got Fire Giant spawning here in 8 seconds. I wouldn't be surprised if they go Pyro into the FG here, Malin. They have the damage, they've got the sustain, and they are waiting for it to touch down. Why not go in for the pull? FineOK, he's close by. Rat Milk on the way, but you gotta get active soon. And FineOK could die off of one taunt. He's got beads available.
There's a taunt back a bit early. The rest of the team wasn't there, but the MO ult should be enough. The dash from Fino. Cyclone Spin secures the Fire Giant for 5Ms, and Borscht will get chased away, and FineOK will get dropped. 5Ms, they're just setting a pace that Borscht cannot match.
Scream hiding around the wall. I thought he was about to go in for the taunt. You don't want to defend this tier 1. If I'm Borscht, I am anywhere but where 5Ms is currently. Pagon's got the right idea. We have lost Fire Giant, we have lost Pyromancer. There's no reason to try and defend here, but it seems Borscht has realized one thing. 5Ms hasn't backed in a while, so they probably have a bit of gold they're sitting on besides Cherry, who just went back, so it would be more worth it. Yeah, BennyQ does have a fat power spike, about 2,400 in hand, which means, hey, stop their backs for a bit. Try and delay, try and stall out. Borscht is already down game number 1. They cannot afford to throw away any more of this gold deficit. Just sit on back and try and play for late game, because again, Rat Milk, Baskin, Pagon, all of these characters are going to be lethal in about 10 minutes if they're given that opportunity, but 5Ms does not want to let that happen, especially off the back of Scream, man. 7-0-4. Has not died yet this set. Cherry, 2-0-5. He's been a part of a lot of action as well, been rotating out of the solo lane. I'm not saying FineOK hasn't, but Cherry has just been much more active in the team fights. Like, FineOK would love a solid 5 minutes of just clearing waves.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. So how do you do that if you're Borscht? How can you stall it out? Not just because 5Ms has momentum, but because of how they're fighting. They're really forcing things and pushing that pace. So how can you stall the game enough to get farm? I mean, look at the situation Pagon's in, caught between two.
He's
we'll
losing
have
the
to
1v1.
use that airstrike if it even matters. We'll get up. Has to go back one way. This is a death sentence for Pagon on the landing. It's a matter of who will get that last hit for it, and Mike will indeed get it. Support stands rise up, but Charlie, what did Borscht do? How do you actually stall this game enough at this point?
I mean, it's super tough to do at this point, but there's no runic bombs in play, so I think you ward up on Pyro, you try and defend your Phoenixes to the best of your ability, and you don't overextend like Pagon just did. You cannot die for tier 2s. You certainly can't die for Chester camps. It's just not worth it. You need to stay underneath your tier 2, because the benefit of letting 5Ms push up is they're clearing all the waves for you. The farm will come to you, and hey, FineOK, we'll go get it. But you stay away from 5Ms. That's the key. You defend Phoenix, which 5Ms probably isn't even going to go for, and you go everywhere else. FineOK should feel confident just about a 1v1 with, I would say anyone, but it has to be a true 1v1, right? Like, there's just so much auto attack damage that can come from an Ama. Considering it is Scream, you don't have to worry about an Athena ulting in to help. But Gold Fury started up by 5Ms. Jake is once again around, but there's no way you're stealing that one.
Nice to focus on getting away. They'll take a Jake pick. Scream and FineOK are still fighting, by the way. This has definitely padded some stats for FineOK, just swinging away with that Sunbeam bow onto Scream. Eventually, they'll both dash away and separate. Now 18 minutes across, it's 15-8, and that gold lead has ballooned for 5Ms up to 6,000, which, you know, we've seen better situations than this so far in the LAN, but I keep saying it, I feel like we haven't seen situations like this that have had a pace by one of the teams that 5Ms has been setting.
Right, and you can tell the power spikes that are starting to be hit as well that Borscht can't match. Like, look at BennyQ, right? He's got Gem of Focus, Soul Gem, Divine Omp Shard. That is a ridiculous amount of pen, intelligence, movement speed, just about everything you could want. And Baskin's on his way. He's a full item behind. Totem definitely helps, but if you're just talking about the power of low someone up, BennyQ has much more burst there. Cyclone Spin is the real example I want to hone in on, though. Pagon's got Devos and Exy. I'm not counting Hasten as a DPS item. It is, but it's mostly just for the movement, right? Cyclone's got 4 items. Braggies, he's got the Sunbeam Bow, Exy, and then Kinsblade. He is chunking. This Cern will shred anyone in his path. Pagon cannot hope to match that level of damage, so he's staying away, which is what he should be doing. There goes the taunt from Screen, gets the beads. Phoenix would be a little risky, though, especially with Cherry not here, so I can understand backing up. and just stopping it. And this is so smart from 5Ms, man. They're not giving Borscht the opportunity to get that free farm. FineOK would have to swing away on this for a while, and Cherry's going to go back and defend. But just get as much free farm as you can.
No backs so far, just Cherry, who will be there, as you mentioned. The dash in from Scream, see what he can do. Actually, that Phoenix goes down rather quickly with the Sunbeam Bow and the Fragments. It's down. That's a positive Phoenix for Borscht. And FineOK looks like he might be tanking enough to at least make this a chase. You can see the Yemo and the Hekate ready to cut off this Amaterasu. So it's got to be a great escape. I mean, takes the correct turn, and the chase will be off. So a great play there from Borscht to kind of get things going. Now, one thing I want to point out that was actually hovered, Helmet Darkness and Cersei's Hexstone for Scream, making use of active items, but active items to get super active.
Right, and that's what he just did. He dashed and then held the taunt. Everyone ran, and then he Hexstoned in again and then taunted again, right? Like not the first taunt. It was a bait. And everyone on Borscht thinks, okay, a dash taunt. That's what Athena does. You don't expect the dash taunt. That's the one that'll get you. So pulled the relics from Awesome Jake, no problem. And now, I mean, 5Ms has to deal with fire minions over on right, but luckily it's right lane, right? You're already near right lane to confirm the Fire Giant, so you're going to be able to clear that out no problem. But it does open up the door for Pagon to get some more of that much-needed split push I was talking about. Fire Giant started up. Borscht has opted to give this one up. At least they'll be able to grab the tier 2 over on left. This is some more gold that is going into their pocket. And hey, while we've been yapping, Baskin was able to get a full Obsidian shard. Titan's Bane online for Ratmilk. These are much needed power spikes here for Borscht. As long as they don't get picked before the actual defense underneath their Phoenix, it's going to look a whole lot stronger for them. And currently there's no runic bombs in play. Like, it is going to be all on Cyclone and Scream's ranged autos to try and pull this Phoenix down.
A lot of control of the map, too, on the left-hand side for Borscht. Pagon's pushed up to the Phoenix. Tier 2 for 5Ms currently. The backing has begun. Cherry plucked, tail looked back, but not much here. Now you've got the back of the form of Baskin. Can you find the kill on Cherry before the reinforcements arrive? Yes, you can! Baskin will be the one to get it. Not everybody backed from 5Ms. They grabbed the tier 2. Phoenix is up next, and Borscht, they're not backing. They're looking to maybe even push up into this. They've got PBM in their sights. They got the damage on, but the gates reposition. That makes it harder to kill PBM. Can you do it? You're losing your Phoenix. They do bring down the Yemo, but the Phoenix gets dropped, and they lose Jake. Borscht, was it worth it?
Here comes the chase, and we're going to find out, can you get away from Scream? He's got the Hexstone. He's got the Helm. No. They're just going to have to retreat there. I thought we might see a base race. You got to remember, Baskin,
I was thinking it too.
Baskin does so much damage to Titan. If 5Ms didn't respect, they definitely could have found some death there. FineOK does a ton of this objective. Amaterasu going to help out. So yes, we will see the Ancient Fury go the way of Borscht. This is exactly how you do it, Malum. You stall out the game. Having the Phoenix down was a great start. Props to FineOK, who knew how to play to the strengths of his composition. And then you just split up as much as possible.
They pulled it off.
Yeah, they did it, and it's very difficult to do as well, because if 5Ms was a little bit more prepared and Cherry doesn't die there, the game's just over, because Cherry stops back. So
it's so hard to interrupt the tempo, too.
Exactly. The flow state they were in was pretty clean up to this point. I mean, finally Cherry goes down, so still Scream the only one who is undying on the side of, I mean, really anyone in this game so far. But regardless, let's just take a full-on look at the map. Both right side birds are down. Fire minions are just going to keep running into each other. That's not that big of a deal. But Borscht is going to have that Phoenix respawn a little bit later than 5Ms, right? So they are going to have to deal with the fire minions more quickly. At least Pagon was able to get Kins and Titan's Bane. That's a huge power spike for this Jingwei. Because Cherry was already an issue, right? He was kind of hard to kill. If it wasn't 1v4, I don't know if they would have been able to do it. Now they've got some actual shred. They've got some actual pen to help deal with those tankier targets. But right side bird is going to be dealt with relatively easily once it spawns in.
Like the wards there from Mike as well for 5M, just in case Borscht try to run back what they did with Pagon.
Yeah, they've got so much split potential. Now look at this. I mean, Borscht is here, right? It's not as if they're cowering in fear underneath their base. They're pushing up, Malum. They want to fight. They want Jake to lead us off with a pluck. There is a lot of immunities to be watching out for, but I would say we are seeing a revitalized Borscht already. They're matching XP. Look, level 20s throughout and then 17 for the support. That's exactly what 5Ms have.
It's crazy how fast it flipped, but it's so important the way that it flipped too, because one thing you were really hitting on was you've got to get to this point to see relevancy from Ratmilk, relevancy from Pagon. And now we're here. We've got those kind of items online. We haven't seen a full 5-on-5, where everybody was at this newfound full power to match each other.
And if you notice, Final K walked over those wards you were talking about. He could just go and delete that Phoenix. That's a weakened Phoenix over and left. You can see the pink aura around it. That means the Ancient Fury is still haunting it. 5OK could 1v1 that Phoenix effortlessly. Like 3 seconds it would take. And that's why those wards are there. And that's why Final K walked up and hey, wait a second. They kind of knew I was here. They walked up immediately. I think I'm done attempting to backdoor for the time being. Borscht still has to worry about fire minions over and right. And Fire Giant runs out right now.
25 minutes has crossed. A lot of kills for this one, but each one's felt impactful in the way it's set up.
Are they just going to end?
5Ms are sneaking through the jungle. Borscht don't seem to be entirely privy. 5Ms now through the Phoenix. Pagon's in base, will be aware of it. Cherry did stop the back, Smith Storm Cold. Now Defender for Olympus on. 5Ms, they're ready to call game on the back door. They're on it. Will they be stopped in time? No, they will not. 5Ms, they got tired of waiting. No Tom Clancy, just game.
Pagon looks so sad. He's just like, what happened? The Titan just dropped.
There was a Titan there a few seconds ago. I swear I saw it.
There was a lot of ward coverage in 5M's base. There wasn't any ward coverage.
Play from Cherry.
Yeah, Cherry said, don't worry, guys. I'm just going to Bluestone and stop everyone's bags. And it ended up working out for him. That's such a Mike call. I guarantee you Mike said, let's just end. These frauds won't be expecting it. They were pushing out. They were so far forward. They were so confident. And Mike said, let's just go in.
Let's just, yeah, like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, what's stopping
And we talked about that. There were kind of the writings on the wall of a potential base race at times, just based off of the different positioning of everybody. But what I didn't expect was, we talked about the wards, right?
Yep.
It was like they used those wards of, hey, Final K is not here. He can't back quick enough to help either in mid or help on the end. It's going to have to be this kind of mass confusion, and 5Ms play off of it absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, this isn't their first rodeo, right? They've been around the block for a while. They understand exactly how when a team starts to get some swagger about them and they start leaving their base, like we were behind, but now we can fight. Let's all run out and chill. And you don't ward up. You don't protect your base, and you don't protect your Titan, which they were able to exploit. So shouts out to 5Ms. Still haven't taken a loss.
One of the craziest ends that we've seen so far, and it sets the pace that there's still things yet for us to see in the knockout land, but that's it for us. I can't wait to hear what the desk thinks about this one. Over to you guys.
I think it's absolutely insane. I was trying to go find the clip. I was going to watch it back, if I'm going to be completely honest. It was just, Laramie, because we're sitting there, and it's been back and forth, and it's kind of like this, okay, well, at the time, at least for, 30 seconds prior, I was like, nothing crazy is going to happen. They start walking up right. There's a little skirmish going on in mid. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, they're committed to this. Like, they're going to win this game.
Yeah.
If they get to that Titan. Everyone else was stopped. I mean, it was pretty much just the perfect storm.
Exactly. Like you've been saying, mostly when you're able to actually break into that Titan room, it is pretty easy to take it down. And having already broken open the base by that point, I mean, it was just kind of a done deal. Once you get the clearance to enter into the Titan room, as long as you're not, throwing any punches you shouldn't be, which, sometimes when you're in a winning state, you may do just a couple times. But this was just a clean set and match at that point.
I mean, you had everything that you needed, right? You had someone either essentially stopping backs that could happen. You're in a good spot, ward coverage, lack of ward coverage on the other side, and then an Athena that can just get there into the base and cause a lot of damage.
This Athena's been crazy, by the way. We haven't really been seeing many other people go for the Athena this tournament at all, much less in the jungle, and much less further beyond that in the style that we've been seeing Scream piloted. I think that's definitely the highlight of this game with the 7-0-4 slash line. Just such cool plays between the Helm of Darkness and the Cersei's Hexstone. I've been really liking this style out of Scream. Very different than what he normally takes, but an impressive turnaround, I think.
Yeah, I think 2 matches where the Athena comes in and different builds than what we've been seeing, mainly because we've only been seeing, the Lokis, your Thanatoses, things like that. And so changing it up plays it well, and realistically, everybody else lines up like in this way. I always hate saying it like this, but they just do the job right? They come in,
but that's what you need.
And you get exactly done what you need to get done. There's no crazy flourish around it a lot of the time. It's just, okay, cool. Cyclone Spin did the autos and got the hits. Benny Q did the damage. Mike did the setup. Like, they did what this comp was built to do.
Yeah.
And they just kind of find the wins because of it. It did feel, at least prior to some of those fights, I mean, very back and forth. Even sometimes thinking, oh man, okay, well, we're going to game 3. Like, we already seeing where we're going.
When we saw the split push on that right-hand side Phoenix, I was like, okay, well, that's a way back in for Borscht, but clean across the board.
Well, sometimes you find a win, you find it at any cost, and you find it 2-0, maybe in a little bit of a surprise. Nice little sneak into the base, and a game end there for 5Ms to give them a 2-0. And if we want to hear what maybe the comms and thought process were like, well, good news is we've got Cyclone Spin standing by for an interview.
And I would love to hear, because as they mentioned, it was just kind of a walk-in base. To us, it was a surprise. But you guys, you made the call, so let's go right to it. What was the call? When did it come about? What made that call to get the sneak in to end the game happen?
We were wrapping around them to see if we were trying to go for a pick, but then Mike called. He saw an end call because we saw almost all of them besides Pagon. So, and the wave just passed, so we were kind of able to get in there without being seen.
I mean, it worked, right? So it was crazy in the moment. And when that happens, like as an actual player sitting in there in that moment, does it kind of instantly intensify things? How do you react to a moment like that? Do you instantly start checking things up, checking the ammo, the active items? Does the fight get more stressful, or was it like, all right, yeah, I'm down?
You just kind of listen to the call.
Fair enough, makes sense. Now, for the actual game itself, right? It felt like Borscht was finding their way back in. For sure. They started figuring how to split push on you guys, and we saw some really deep wards. I think Mike had warded over by left side teleporter. The ward call, how important was that for actually being able to lock down the game?
We were so far ahead, so the only way they could like theoretically win that game, like in our eyes, was them backdooring us, so we just put down wards, so
you were afraid of them doing exactly what you did to them to you. That does make a lot of sense to me. I guess the kind of last thing is that gives you guys the comfort of not having to stress about any more seeding. You lock it in. How's it feel to kind of be free of the stresses for a little bit until we get to the Vegas point?
It feels great. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, love to hear it, and congratulations on a dominant win and a sneaky win at that. I can't wait to see how you guys do going forward. But I'm not going to be getting over that game for a long time. I'm sure the desk won't either. So back over to you guys.
Yeah, I'm really, really, really going to watch. I'm not kidding. I'm going to watch that clip at least 2 more times, and I'm going to make sure. I hope JMac got it. If you did,
on socials right now,
JMac, yeah, you're probably watching. I'm talking directly to you. Everyone else in chat, hi. But for you specifically, send it to me in our group chat or something. Like I like legitimately want to watch it again. It was just clean, and you can kind of hear. I feel like a few things. One, the ward coverage around their base, because that's exactly what they were worried about, right? Trying to make sure that you can get back in time and stop. But then you get vision on people in mid, and none of them are going to be able to back or back in time, and everyone except for Pagon they could see.
Yeah.
And then double on that, the other half of that conversation was Mike made the call, and everyone just listens. And that's like one thing that we've seen in a lot of these high-level games, and this goes back all the way to Season 2 and beyond. Players, I want to say Pain to Beyond was in that conversation where it was like, you could just grab it. Yeah, right? You grab a team. In fact, he even did this. He grabbed a team of a bunch of players that was like, at least kind of seen as like nobodies, right? And when you listen to the right call and you just all commit and all play, we've heard it from him, we heard it from Raffer, we've heard it from every shot caller for a team for over a decade. It feels like if you listen to the call, good things happen. Sometimes bad things happen, but they happen together, and that's what matters. They get their win, and they win together here 2-0. And as Malum mentioned at the very end, it guarantees them the first seed. Now, that is a very easy-to-read standings.
Yeah.
3-0, team name but with 5Ms. First seed, they get a bye round, and they win every single set without dropping a game here. Borscht, they are 2-1. Mockingbird 1-2. So those are the 3 teams that are going to be going to Vegas. Now, Borscht and Mockingbird will be playing the 2 and 3 seed from Group B, whereas Malvinus will be saying goodbye to for the rest of the Founders Series. That's just Group A, though. And the thing about, Borscht and Mockingbird are going to play 2 and 3 from Group B, when you look at Group B, you'll see that not only do we not know who those are yet, but that there's a lot of possibilities for things to go crazy here. Now, I do think you can, if Losli will win this one, you'll end up with a couple or two teams at 1 and 2, and then depending on Food Drive for Risk, you could have a couple of teams at 1 and 2. Same thing the other way. If Food Drive and Risk go one way, and Smoke Break get a win, you could have a couple teams at 2 and 1. There's some tiebreakers that could
potential
end up being
here.
necessary.
Potential.
I think if Food Drive win, we're pretty much set. Like, I think that avoids some of it.
Yeah.
Depending on, I think, the bottom, and that's going to be the pressure as we look forward. Los Leal is the one who are on the chopping block. A loss here is guaranteed. End of statement for them. For Smoke Break, for Risk, even for Food Drive, right? Not just first seed, but second and third seed. That's going to affect who you're playing tomorrow. There's a whole lot that's going to be happening here, and it's 2 sets for the remainder of today that they're going to have to figure out. So, I mean, I don't even know. Realistically, the best place to start is in that set. But before we can get there, I'm kind of curious because I know a lot of what we've been seeing, and we've picked this up over the weekend, but Los Leal have been picking up fighting more and more, but the farm, it feels like for both of the LATAM teams, is where they suffered. It definitely feels like Smoke Break is one of those teams that they'll fight you back. And even if it's on your terms, these guys tend to make up a lot of plays out of thin air. They will make a nasty play. So it feels like for Los Leal, the fighting it's still only half the battle. But it might be something that they could try to find some leverage on.
Yeah, I mean, Smoke Break likes to play fast and loose with those objectives. Just head for it whenever you get the opportunity to. Queen Naga is always on the table. That's what they prioritize, and going straight over to Gold Fear at the beginning of the game. And that, to me, is going to be the really big indicator is, if Los Leal can keep up with those kind of plays, and if they continue to play around those objectives and make plays, perhaps we'll see a little mix-up. And honestly, I'm quite excited to see what the potential is for this next set coming up because, like you said, backs against the wall. This is elimination. This is Vegas on the line.
I mean, and that's the thing I think looking forward, right? We're technically playing 2 of them tomorrow, but a lot of it, because Vegas Fridays 4 best of 3s. Saturday, I believe, is a best of 5 and a 2 best of 3s. Like, it is a big double elim bracket with a lot of time to play through, and of course, for these teams, a lot of money on the line as they continue marching forward. But what's going to be next? Going to Group B, Los Leal, Smoke Break, all on the other end of this quick break.